Hello everyone, welcome to kitch&more. We are now in English 7 quarter 1 week 6 and our focus is on the purpose, features and structure elements of poetry. So, grab your pens, open your minds and let's get started. First, let's have a review of our lesson previously. We have about poetry. Poetry is a form of literary expression that uses rhythm, imagery, sound devices, and carefully chosen words to evoke emotions, convey ideas, or tell stories in a creative and often structured way. Poetry is like a magic box of words. It's a special way of expressing thoughts, feelings, and stories using rhythm, imagery, and sound that can make us feel everything from joy to sorrow. Imagine a song that tugs at your heart or a story that paints pictures in your mind. That's what poetry does. Whether it's about love, adventure, or deep emotions, poetry takes carefully chosen words and weaves them into something beautiful. For our warm-up activity, let's do this. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine hearing a beautiful song that reminds you of home, or listening to a story told by your grandparents about a brave Filipino hero. Or maybe watching a play before a character shouts, cries, or laughs, and you feel like you are part of the story. These are all powerful experiences created by different kinds of poetry. Today, we will explore how poems can sing about our emotions, tell unforgettable stories, and act out life's greatest moments. Let's talk about the purpose and features of poetry. Let's start with lyric poetry. What is a lyric poetry? By definition, lyric poetry is a type of poetry focused on expressing personal emotions, thoughts, or feelings of the speaker. Lyric poetry is an emotional snapshot, capturing the deepest feelings, thoughts, and reflections of the speaker. Whether it's joy, sorrow, love, or longing, this type of poem lets you peer into the heart and soul of the poet, all in just a few lines. Usually, lyric poetry is short in length and often musical or song-like, though not necessarily meant to be sung. Think of lyric poetry as the musical heartbeat of words. It's short, sweet, and often carries a rhythm that makes it feel like a song, even if it's not meant to be sung. Its flow and melody are designed to stir emotions with every word and line. The name lyric comes from the ancient time when poems were accompanied by the sound of the lyre. It is a stringed instrument similar to a harp. Imagine the beauty of words flowing together with music. This connection gives lyric poetry its unique charm and musical essence. Let's talk about the purpose of lyric poetry. Lyric poetry has the purpose to express deep emotions like love, joy, sadness, or longing. The purpose of lyric poetry is to let the poet pour their heart out, expressing emotions so deep and raw that they almost leap off the page. Whether it's love that makes your heart race, joy that lifts your spirit, or sorrow that tugs at your soul, lyric poetry is all about capturing these powerful emotions in words. A lyric poem often freezes a single moment in time, like catching a shooting star before it fades. It hones in on one intense feeling or experience, turning it into something timeless, as if that moment is captured forever in the rhythm and flow of the poem. Let's talk about the features of lyric poetry. First, Lyric poetry is short in length and focuses on emotions. Next, it often has a musical rhythm or melody-like style. Another one is lyric poetry is rich in the use of imagery and figures of speech like similes, metaphors, or symbolism. Lyric poetry paints vivid pictures using rich imagery and colorful figures of speech, like comparing love to a blooming flower, which is simile, or giving the moon a secret smile, which is personification. Every metaphor and symbol brings emotion to life in a way that's unforgettable. Another feature of lyric poetry is that it may follow specific forms such as elegy. For an elegy, it mourns loss and sorrow, like a heartfelt goodbye written in verse. Another is an ode, which lifts up something beloved, whether a hero, a sunset, or even a simple mango tree, turning admiration into poetry. And a sonnet. It ties up powerful feelings, usually about love or deep reflection, into a neat 14-line masterpiece, like a beautifully wrapped gift of emotions. Other common types of lyric poetry were already discussed in Week 5, so think of this as a deeper dive into the beautiful structures that give lyric poems their unforgettable voice. Let's now move on to the definition of narrative poetry. Narrative poetry is the oldest form of poetry and a fundamental part of early human storytelling. It's like an ancient version of a blockbuster movie, but instead of film, it used the magic of words. A narrative poetry is a type of poem that tells a story with a clear sequence of events, including characters, setting, conflict, and plot. A narrative poetry is a type of poem that tells a full story, which means it doesn't just share feelings, it takes you on a journey. In a narrative poetry, you will find memorable characters. Just like in novels or movies, narrative poems have heroes, villains, sidekicks, and more. These characters are brought to life through the poet's words, making you care about their dreams, struggles, and victories. Also, it has a vivid setting. Narrative poems paint clear pictures of where the story happens. Whether it's a mystical forest, a bustling village, or a stormy sea, the setting sets the mood and pulls the reader right into the world of the poem. Then, it has an exciting conflict. Every good story needs a problem. In narrative poetry, characters often face challenges, whether it's a battle, a quest, or an inner struggle, and how they deal with it keeps the story moving and the reader hooked. Then, a flowing plot. Like chapters in a book, the events in a narrative poem are organized with a beginning, middle, and end. The plot makes sure the story doesn't wander around but builds up to something meaningful and satisfying. In short, narrative poetry gives you the drama of a novel, the imagination of a movie, and the beauty of poetry, all rolled into one. A narrative poetry, instead of only describing emotions, unfolds events like a short story or novel, but in a poetic form. Let's talk about the purpose of narrative poetry. Narrative poetry has the following purpose. First is to entertain through storytelling. Narrative poems are designed to capture attention, spark imaginations, and bring stories to life. Whether it's a hero's adventure, a romantic tale, or a thrilling mystery, these poems pull readers in with exciting plots and unforgettable characters. Next is to preserve history or culture. Long before people wrote books, they told their stories through poems. Narrative poetry helps pass down legends, traditions, and important events from one generation to the next. It's like a time capsule, keeping the spirit of a culture alive through the ages. And another purpose is to teach moral lessons. Beyond the drama and adventure, narrative poems often carry deep lessons about bravery, kindness, honesty, or perseverance. Through the journeys of their characters, readers learn values and wisdom that can guide them in real life. In short, narrative poetry entertains, remembers, and teaches, all with the magic of words. Let's now proceed to the features of narrative poetry. Narrative poetry stands out because of these awesome features. First is clear plot structure with a beginning, middle, and end. Just like a great story, narrative poems don't just wander around. They follow a clear path. There's an exciting beginning to hook you in, a middle full of action or drama, and a satisfying end that wraps it all up. Another feature is that narrative poetry uses descriptive language that paints vivid scenes. These poems use powerful words to create mental movies in the reader's mind. Whether it's a fierce battle, a quiet village, or a stormy night, narrative poetry makes you see, hear, and feel the story. And sometimes, narrative poems add even more magic with dialogue, which includes the characters talking to each other. Then, rhyme schemes. This is the pattern of rhyming words that make the poem flow. Also, there is a rhythmic pattern, the beat that gives the poem a musical feel. In short, narrative poetry brings stories to life with action, vivid pictures, and a rhythm that keeps readers turning the page, or, in this case, the stanza. Narrative poetry often comes in these amazing forms. First, epics. Think of an epic like a superhero movie, but in ancient times. Epics are long poems that tell the grand adventures of heroes. These heroes usually fight battles, go on dangerous quests, or even save entire kingdoms. A great example from Filipino culture is Biyag ni Lamang, where Lamang, the brave hero, faces incredible adventures from birth to manhood. Epics are packed with action, bravery, and a little bit of magic too. Then we have ballads. Ballads are like the original story songs. They tell simple but powerful tales, often about love, adventure, or tragedy, and are usually meant to be sung. Ballads have a sweet musical quality and use simple language, making them easy to remember and pass on. Imagine a heartwarming love story or a daring rescue mission, told through beautiful verses you can sing along to. Whether it's the epic quest of a hero or a heartfelt love song, narrative poetry's forms are all about making stories unforgettable. Let's now move on to dramatic poetry. Dramatic poetry is a form of poetry written to be spoken aloud, often in a theatrical or performance setting. Dramatic poetry is made to be heard, not just read. It's designed for the voice, to be performed in front of an audience, just like an actor delivering powerful lines on stage. It brings poetry to life by combining strong emotions with real action, making listeners feel like they are part of the moment. Dramatic poetry presents a situation or story through the voice of a character. Instead of the poet speaking directly, dramatic poets puts the spotlight on a character who tells the story or reacts to a situation. It's like stepping into someone else's shoes and experiencing their struggles, dreams, or dilemmas firsthand through their words. Dramatic poetry uses a dialogue, monologue, and soliloquy. Dialogue is when two or more characters have a conversation, trading lines back and forth like in a play, creating lively scenes full of emotion or tension. Then monologue. Here, one character speaks for a long time, either addressing another character or sharing their thoughts with the audience, revealing deep emotions or key information. And soliloquy. This is when a character talks to themselves, thinking out loud so the audience gets a glimpse into their private feelings, hopes, or fears, like hearing someone's secret diary out loud. Unlike lyric poetry, dramatic poetry shows emotions and conflicts through characters' actions and speech rather than direct personal expression. While lyric poetry is like reading someone's diary, dramatic poetry is like watching them live out their emotions through decisions, conversations, and dramatic moments. Feelings aren't just told, they are acted out, making the experience vivid, moving, and memorable. Let's talk about the purpose of dramatic poetry. First, to portray the complexity of human emotions and conflicts. Dramatic poetry shines a spotlight on how messy, beautiful, and complicated human emotions can be. Instead of simply saying, "I'm sad," "I'm angry," characters show their emotions through passionate speeches, tough choices, or heartfelt conversations. It paints a richer, deeper picture of the struggles and victories that make us human. Another purpose is to involve the audience emotionally by letting characters express struggles, decisions, or inner battles aloud. Rather than telling the audience what to feel, dramatic poetry pulls them right into the action. When characters speak their thoughts aloud, whether wrestling with a tough decision or revealing a hidden fear, listeners can't help but feel connected. It's like being given a front row seat to a heart and mind of someone living through their most intense moments. Let's have the features of dramatic poetry. First is a monologue. A monologue, here the character is speaking alone to another character or audience. In a monologue, one character steps into the spotlight and shares their thoughts, plans, or feelings, either to another person on stage or straight to the audience. It's a powerful moment that gives the speaker room to persuade, confess, or reflect, pulling everyone deeper into the story. Then also soliloquy, a character speaking privately to themselves, revealing inner thoughts. A soliloquy is like reading someone's diary out loud, but way more dramatic. The character speaks their inner secrets, struggles, or dreams not to anyone else, but to themselves. It's a beautiful way to dive into a character's heart without filters or lies. Another feature is the use of dramatic situations, emotional conflicts, and meaningful dialogue. Dramatic poetry thrives on big moments, arguments, dilemmas, confessions, where emotions run high. Through carefully crafted dialogue, characters interact in ways that reveal their true selves, letting their conflicts and relationships unfold like a living, breathing scene on stage. Another one is a vivid emotional expression through careful use of tone, diction, and imagery. Every word in dramatic poetry is chosen for maximum impact, whether it's the sharpness of an angry rant or the softness of a love confession. The tone, word choice, and imagery work together to create scenes so vivid you can almost see them happening right in your mind's eye. Let's now proceed to the structure elements of poems. First, we have conflict. The conflict is a problem or struggle in the story. Conflict gives a poem its heartbeat. It's the challenge, decision, or clash that makes the emotions real and the story exciting. Without conflict, a poem can feel flat, but with it, every word pulses with tension and meaning. Next structure is characterization. It is how the speaker or characters are described and developed. Characterization brings characters to life, even in just a few lines. Through their actions, thoughts, and descriptions, readers can get to know who they are, what they love, fear, or dream about, making us feel like we've met someone unforgettable. The next element of a poem is the plot. It is the events of storyline in the poem. A plot is the spine of a narrative poem, whether it's a daring journey, a quiet realization, or a tragic farewell. The plot organizes the events so the story flows smoothly, carrying the reader from beginning to end. Then the linear or flashback. The events told in order or jumping back to past events. Poems can walk straight ahead, which means linear, or suddenly leap into memories, which means a flashback. Both styles help share how the reader experiences time, either moving moment by moment or weaving the past into the present. There's also rhyme and meter, the sound patterns, beats, and rhythm. Rhyme and meter are the music behind the words. Rhyme gives poems a catchy echo, while meter lays down a steady beat, making lines pleasing to hear and almost impossible not to read aloud. Then, diction. It's the word choices that fit the emotion, tone, and theme. Every word matters. Diction is about picking just the right words, simple or grand, harsh or soft, to match the poem's feeling, tone, and message. One powerful word can change everything. Then we have the tone and mood, the attitude of the speaker, which is the tone, and the emotion felt by the reader, which is the mood. Tone is the speaker's voice. Are they angry, playful, or mournful? Mood is the emotional atmosphere. Does the poem make you feel hopeful, anxious, or nostalgic? Together, they set the entire emotional stage. Another element is style, patterns, and motif. The poet's unique way of arranging ideas and recurring images or ideas. A poet's style is like their signature. Some weave repeating ideas or images throughout their work, creating patterns that feel familiar but fresh, making their voice stand out in every stanza. Then, the figures of speech. It's the use of metaphor, simile, personification, hyperbole, etc. Figures of speech are where the magic happens. Comparing love to a burning fire is a metaphor. Giving the moon a whispering voice is personification. These creative tricks make poems sparkle with imagination. Then we have point of view. It's the perspective from which the poem is told. Point of view is like choosing your camera angle. Are we inside the speaker's head by the use of eye? Are we watching from outside, like using he or she? The chosen view shapes how close or distant readers feel from the poem's heart. Then there's also organic unity, all parts of the poem working together naturally to create one complete feeling or idea. Organic unity means everything. Every image, line, and rhythm fits together perfectly, like pieces of a beautiful puzzle. A strong poem feels whole and satisfying, like it couldn't be written any other way. So, to wrap up, today we learned that poetry is a creative way to express emotions, tell stories, and share important lessons. It has special features like emotional focus, musical rhythm, and vivid imagery. We also discovered that strong poems follow important structure elements, such as building a clear conflict, creating characters, using rhyme and rhythm, and choosing the right words and tone to bring the poem to life. So for your task, write a short poem, at least 8 lines, that uses the correct structure elements we learned today. Your poem should show a clear emotion, story, or message, characters, conflict, or vivid scene. Don't forget to use rhyme, rhythm, imagery, and strong word choices. Be consistent in your tone and mood throughout. Remember, be creative, express yourself, and make sure all parts of your poem works together naturally. You can write a lyric, narrative, or dramatic poem. It's your choice. That ends our lesson. Thank you so much for joining us on this beautiful journey through types of poetry. If you enjoyed this lesson, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Kitchen More. Till next time, see you. Bye.